chosen ones, they're all wondering who you are and what you did. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to shine brighter than others, drawing all eyes and leaving others in awe? As Rumi wisely said, "You were born with wings, why prefer to crawl through life?" Today we're diving into why you're one of the chosen ones, the ones people can't stop talking about, the ones they're dying to understand. There's something about you that's magnetic, and it's time to embrace it. This isn't just about admiration. This is about stepping into your true power for personal growth and lasting happiness. What do you think sets you apart from the crowd? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's unlock the secrets of your extraordinary journey together. Legends aren't born, they're revealed in silence. The world rarely sees them coming, and when they do, they enter with such quiet power that they leave everyone wondering, who is this person? What makes them different? The most intriguing figures in history, the ones whose influence echoes through time, were never the loudest voices in the room. They didn't demand attention. They simply commanded it with their presence. And that's you, chosen ones. Every time you step into a space, people can't help but stare, whispering, who are they? What have they done to make life seem so effortless? The answer is simple. You have tapped into a level of spiritual strength that few can understand. It's not about being the loudest or the flashiest. It's about mastering the art of subtlety, of carrying an aura that makes people stop and think. This mysterious energy isn't something that can be faked. It's something that flows naturally when you're in tune with your deeper self. The spiritual power of mystery is what sets you apart. Psychological studies reveal that mystery is one of the most magnetic forces that draw people in. Humans are hardwired to seek answers, and when they encounter something they can't easily explain, it triggers an intense desire to know more. People don't just want to understand you, they want to be you. They can feel that you've mastered something they haven't, and that drives them crazy. When you hold back, when you don't give away every detail of who you are, you trigger a longing in others to uncover the secrets that lie beneath the surface. The world is obsessed with the unknown, and you embody it. But this isn't just about playing games or being elusive. It's about maintaining a level of spiritual composure, where you hold your power in such a way that it can't be easily taken from you. You don't need to explain yourself to anyone, because your actions speak louder than words ever could. But those who are drawn to you, those who obsess over you, don't even realize they are witnessing something spiritual. You have something they crave, but it's not just confidence or charm. It's the energy that flows from your being when you align with your true purpose. This alignment makes everything you do appear effortless. It's like a magnetic field, pulling people toward you, making them wonder what it is that makes you so captivating. But this power isn't something you can just switch on. It comes when you understand and embrace your spiritual essence. The moment you let go of the need for external validation and step fully into your own truth, you'll begin to notice that people's fascination with you intensifies. They won't be able to stop thinking about you because you've become a living mystery, a force they can't quite figure out. If you resonate with the quiet power and charismatic presence we talked about today, comment below, "I embrace the mystery within." Step into your power confidently, knowing that you don't have to shout to be heard. You are an enigma, and it's that very mystery about you that captivates everyone around you. You don't fit the typical molds that others expect you to, and that drives them wild with curiosity. People are used to understanding the world in a predictable, controlled way, but you break every expectation, existing outside the usual boundaries. It's not that you're trying to be mysterious, it's simply who you are. You don't need to announce your presence or make a scene to capture attention. Your calm demeanor and quiet confidence do it for you. Others look at you and wonder how you manage to stay so composed, so unshaken, while still drawing people in. You're not broadcasting your thoughts or your every move, and that only makes them more intrigued. There's an energy about you that they can't pinpoint, can't label, and certainly can't control. The more they try to understand you, the more you remain an unsolved puzzle. They desperately want to know what makes you tick, what drives you, and how you found such peace in a chaotic world. But the truth is, the power lies in your authenticity. You've gone through your own spiritual awakening, a deep understanding of who you are beyond the superficial, and you've let go of the need for external validation. In a world where so many people are seeking approval, trying to fit in or live up to someone else's expectations, you've chosen a different path. You've become comfortable with being yourself, without needing to explain or defend your choices. This is where your true power lies. You don't need anyone's approval, because you've already recognized your worth. Your life doesn't need to be an open book for others to read. What's important is that you're living in alignment with your true self, and that in itself is magnetic. It's this unshakable sense of self that makes people constantly wonder, who are they? And how can I be more like that? But you're not holding on to any secrets or hidden knowledge. Your mystery simply comes from the fact that you've embraced your true essence and stopped pretending to be anything else. As you continue on your journey, you'll find that more and more people will be drawn to your energy, eager to understand the depth you carry with you. They'll try to decode you, but they'll never fully succeed because your essence cannot be contained or defined. You are not here to fit into their boxes or live by their rules. Your purpose is much greater than that. The way you live in such a calm, unapologetic way is a testament to your spiritual growth. Your true power lies in your authenticity and your ability to walk through the world with grace, while remaining true to yourself. You've become a beacon for others to see what's possible when you live from a place of inner peace and self-awareness. You don't need anyone to understand you, because you understand yourself, and that's all that truly matters. Are you ready to embrace your mysterious allure? If so, comment below. I embrace my enigma and take the first step towards owning the captivating energy that makes you unforgettable. Your energy challenges the very comfort zones of those around you, often in ways they don't fully understand. You are different, not in a superficial way, but in the deepest sense. While most people go through life seeking stability, comfort, and predictability, you're a force of change, an embodiment of calm confidence that disrupts everything they thought they knew. Without trying, you shake the very foundation of their reality, forcing them to confront their own limitations. It's not that you set out to unsettle anyone, but simply by existing, you create a space where they are faced with their own doubts and insecurities. The way you carry yourself, so completely unbothered by societal expectations, reveals just how little most people are willing to be themselves. You're not interested in blending in. You've chosen the path of authenticity, and that alone is a challenge to the conformist life most people have settled into. You live as though you are free from the need for approval, free from the shackles of self-doubt, and that freedom is magnetic, even if it makes them uncomfortable. They find themselves inexplicably drawn to you, yet at the same time, they are unsettled by your very presence. It's as if your energy reflects back to them the parts of themselves they've ignored or hidden away. Their insecurities, their unfulfilled dreams, the aspects of their character they wish they could change but are too afraid to confront. It's not intentional. It's simply the effect of being in your presence. You mirror to them their own potential, the parts of themselves they long to realize, but which they have been too afraid to pursue. This is the power of spiritual growth. It's not just about changing your life. It's about the ripple effect your growth has on others. You don't need to say a word to make people question their own existence. Your energy, your calm and unwavering confidence, silently challenges them to look within, to question the reality they've built for themselves, and to wonder why they have been settling for less than what they deserve. The more you step into your power, the more they are forced to ask themselves hard questions. Why am I not living to my full potential? Why do I continue to hide behind comfort and predictability? And yet, it is not just the uncomfortable ones who are affected. There are those who will be inspired by your example, those who see in you a reflection of what is possible. To them, you are a beacon of hope, a reminder that growth is possible, that transformation is real. They see you living proof that it's possible to break free from the constraints of fear and doubt and live a life that is true to yourself. To them, you are not a threat, but a guide, a reminder of the spiritual growth they can also achieve. Your presence alone is a testament to the power of authenticity and spiritual growth. You do not need to chase attention or force anyone to change. The way you carry yourself, your unwavering confidence, and your refusal to settle for anything less than your best, speaks volumes. You are a living example that challenges those around you to rise up and become the best versions of themselves, whether they are ready for it or not. If you find it relevant, please like and share with others. Your support helps us continue to create challenging and uplifting content that empowers you to push yourself beyond your comfort zone every day. Your silence is more powerful than their noise. While most people rush to fill every moment with chatter, over-explaining, or desperate attempts to be heard, you remain calm, composed, and deliberate with your words. When you speak, it's measured and purposeful, yet it cuts straight to the core. This silence isn't mere absence of sound. It's a commanding force that unsettles those around you. They can't figure you out, and that's what drives them crazy. In a world full of distractions and constant validation seeking, your ability to remain silent makes you an enigma. They expect you to react, to give them something to hold on to, but you refuse to play their game. Instead, you stand your ground, your demeanor steady and unfazed. Your silence forces them to question themselves. Are you indifferent, judging, or simply too wise to waste words? That uncertainty gnaws at them, and that in itself is a kind of power. You don't need to explain your every move or justify your existence. The value of your silence lies in the fact that it invites introspection. Most people can't handle the discomfort of not knowing what's happening in someone else's mind. They can't deal with the fact that you remain unfazed by their attempts to draw you in. This kind of spiritual strength is rare. It's not about withholding information. It's about preserving your energy for things that truly matter. Your words carry weight, and you understand that not every situation requires a response. The more you hold back, the more they seek to understand you. The more they try to decipher your every gesture, your every expression. And in the end, they realize that they can't control or predict you. This is the power of a man who is in tune with his spiritual self. Your silence is your shield and your sword, cutting through the noise without you ever having to raise your voice. In a world where many are driven by external validation, you stand apart. Your silence reveals a level of self-assurance that others can only envy. You've mastered the art of restraint, knowing that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing at all. This ability to remain still and unshaken in the face of external chaos speaks volumes about your inner peace and spiritual clarity. You don't need to explain your worth to anyone. Your presence alone commands respect, and your silence ensures that you maintain control over your narrative. People will wonder, will speculate, but in the end, they'll never truly understand what makes you tick, and that's exactly how you want it. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights on how you're standing out and capturing everyone's attention. You were chosen for greatness. Let's unlock your full potential together. Your success appears almost too easy to others, as if everything you touch turns into gold. To the outside world, your achievements seem effortless, and your path appears perfectly aligned with prosperity. But what they don't understand is the hidden effort behind your victories. They can't see the sleepless nights, the endless hours of hard work, the sacrifices, and the moments of doubt you faced alone. To them, your success feels like a mystery, an enigma they can't solve. What truly baffles them is your calm composure. You don't boast about your achievements, you don't seek attention or sympathy for your struggles, and you certainly don't flaunt your wins. You simply keep moving forward with unwavering confidence, accomplishing what others can only dream of. This serene confidence makes it look like the universe has been rigged in your favor, as if you've been handed a secret roadmap, while everyone else is still trying to find their way. But the truth is, your success is not the result of luck or favoritism. It's the outcome of your own spiritual awakening, your deep connection with purpose, and your relentless discipline. You've earned everything through hard work, resilience, and the wisdom gained from facing life's challenges. You're not the result of chance. You're the result of constant growth, patience, and alignment with your higher self. While some may resent your effortless success, there's also a deep, unspoken admiration. Your journey inspires them, even if they can't fully comprehend the depth of it. The reason your wins seem so effortless is not because life has been easy, but because you've cultivated a mindset that turns obstacles into opportunities. You've embraced a path of growth and resilience, and in doing so, you've become someone who others can't help but notice, someone they wonder about, admire, and may even envy. They are constantly trying to figure you out, to understand the secret behind your strength. But they can't. You have something they don't, something that's drawing them to you, yet they can't quite grasp it. What truly perplexes them is your complete indifference to their opinions. People are used to seeking approval, to chasing after validation, and constantly molding themselves based on what others think. But not you. You don't need anyone's approval to feel good about who you are. Their judgments, their praise, or even their criticisms, none of it affects you. You've built a life that is immune to the fleeting highs and lows that come from external validation. You've tapped into something deeper, the unwavering confidence that comes from knowing who you are at your core. This confidence doesn't fluctuate with the opinions of others because it's not built on their approval. You've freed yourself from the exhausting cycle of needing others to confirm your worth. This clarity, this peace, is what makes you so magnetic, and it's driving them crazy. They can't understand how you can be so unaffected by their opinions. They expect everyone to fit into the same mold, to seek validation and approval from the world around them, but you've completely detached yourself from that narrative. While they're desperately trying to maintain control over how they're perceived, you've embraced a new kind of freedom. You've chosen to break free from the need for external validation, and in doing so, you've found your true power. It's not arrogance, it's simply understanding that your worth is not up for negotiation. Their judgments, whether positive or negative, don't define you. The way they see you doesn't matter. What matters is how you see yourself. You've become an enigma to them, someone who cannot be swayed or controlled, and that's why they're so obsessed with figuring you out. In their eyes, you are different. Your clarity and self-assurance leave them in awe and confusion. They keep wondering how you can stand so tall, so unshaken, in a world that's obsessed with external opinions. What they don't realize is that you've learned something they haven't. True power comes from within. You're not caught up in their game of validation. You're free from their expectations, and that freedom is what makes you irresistible. Your presence disrupts their narratives. When you step into a room, it's not just your words or actions that shake things up. It's the energy you carry, the spiritual essence you radiate, that effortlessly challenges everything they've come to know and rely on. The world they've created in their minds, the neat little stories they've woven around their lives, to create a sense of predictability, control, and safety. All of that crumbles when you show up. You see, they've built their own rules to navigate life rules that help them make sense of things, that help them feel grounded and in charge. But you don't fit into those preordained categories. And that makes them uncomfortable. They're used to a certain rhythm. Leaders, followers, the ones who crave attention and the ones who shy away. But then there's you. You don't play by their rules. Your presence disrupts their established order because, while they may expect certain dynamics to unfold, you're operating on an entirely different level, one they don't fully understand. It's not about competing for control. You don't need to chase power because without effort, it finds you. You don't seek validation, yet without trying, you command the room. There's a magnetism to you that they can't explain, and the more they try to figure it out, the more confused they become. They wonder, do you even notice the effect you have? In truth, you probably don't. You've spent years honing your ability to read energy, the subtle shifts that happen when you walk into a space. You can feel the room change around you, almost as if time pauses for a moment. But here's the key. You've mastered the art of letting it all unfold naturally. You don't force it, nor do you need to. Your presence alone carries a spiritual weight that they can't deny. They wonder what it is that makes you different. But the answer is simple. You've stopped trying to fit into their boxes. You've stopped playing by their rules. You've transcended the need to seek approval. And in doing so, you've unlocked a kind of power they can't even comprehend. This is the magic of being chosen. It's not about being the loudest or the most dominant. It's about being grounded in who you are. You've reached a place of peace within yourself where you no longer seek the validation of others. You don't need to prove your worth because you already know it. And this quiet confidence, this spiritual essence, throws their whole narrative out of balance. The reason they are drawn to you is not because you're trying to outshine them, but because you are simply being authentically, powerfully, and effortlessly. The more they try to fit you into their world, the more they realize they can't. It's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole it's not meant to fit. They can't buy your attention, and that frustrates them the most. People who rely on money, status, flattery, and manipulation are used to getting what they want by appealing to others' weaknesses or desires. They throw their wealth or achievements in front of people, hoping to get admiration or control. But when it comes to you, none of that works. Your attention is not for sale, and that makes you a mystery to them. You're not impressed by surface-level achievements, and you don't fall for their emotional games or subtle tactics. While others may be swayed by guilt trips, jealousy-inducing comments, or attempts to trigger emotional reactions, you remain calm, unaffected, and clear-headed. What they don't understand is that it's not that you're cold or indifferent. You've simply learned to value what's real. You've spent time developing an understanding of yourself, your values, and what truly matters. You've cultivated a sense of self-worth that isn't dependent on external validation. Unlike most people, you're not driven by the need to impress or be impressed by others. This comes from a deeper place, what many would call a spiritual awakening. You've tapped into an inner power that allows you to see through the masks people wear, the hidden agendas behind their actions, and the false illusions they try to create. You know that true fulfillment doesn't come from external sources like money, status, or the approval of others. It comes from within. And that's what drives them crazy. They don't know how to handle someone like you, someone who can't be controlled or influenced by their usual tactics. It's not that they don't try. They will test your boundaries, play on your emotions, and attempt to manipulate your responses. But to you, their tricks fall flat. You've already learned the lesson that what matters most is authenticity, self-respect, and emotional independence. You've realized that true peace comes when you stop chasing validation and start living according to your own standards. This is what makes you different, what makes you stand out, and why they can't understand you. Their frustration is a reflection of your strength. The more they try, the more you remain unaffected, and the more they become curious, desperate to understand what makes you tick. They can't control you, and that drives them crazy. But what they don't realize is that you're not playing their game you've already won, because you've learned that the only person you need to impress is yourself. They can't help but be drawn to you, not because of anything you've said or done, but simply because of the energy you radiate. Your presence alone has the power to shake them, to make them confront everything they've been avoiding about themselves. It's not intentional, and it's not about you pointing out their flaws. You don't even need to speak a word. Your existence is a reflection of their deepest insecurities. The more they observe you, the more they realize that you represent the version of themselves they wish they could become, but haven't yet found the courage to pursue. It's the quiet confidence you carry with you that disturbs them the most. They see how effortlessly you move through life, unburdened by the things that weigh them down. Your authenticity, your independence, and your spiritual growth all serve as reminders of what they've yet to achieve in their own lives. What truly affects them is not just the way you carry yourself, but how you embody the qualities they yearn for, qualities like inner peace, strength, and unshakable confidence. You have mastered the art of standing firm in your truth, and it's this self-assurance that causes them to question why they haven't done the same. You live unapologetically, and this freedom is contagious. It makes them uneasy because they feel exposed, forced to reckon with the parts of themselves they've been avoiding. And yet, all of this happens without you ever intending to make them uncomfortable. You simply exist as you are, unapologetically true to yourself, and in doing so, you make them question their own choices, their own path, and the very foundation of their existence. In moments like these, it's easy to forget how powerful it is to just be yourself. We often chase approval, seek validation, or try to fit into the molds others create for us. But you, without even trying, are a living testament to the power of embracing who you truly are. It's in your presence that they see what they've been missing in their own lives. The courage to grow spiritually, to evolve beyond their insecurities, and to become the best version of themselves. And while they may feel intimidated, deep down, they're also inspired. They may not say it to your face, but they are drawn to you because you embody the very qualities they wish they could have. The courage, the strength, and the grace to move through life with unshakable confidence. There's something magnetic about you that others can't quite put their finger on. It's not just your outer success or the way you carry yourself. It's the fact that you're not bound by the rules that govern most people's lives. While everyone else is caught up in the conventional grind, you walk to the beat of your own drum. And it's exactly this that makes you irresistible. You operate on a different level, one that they can't comprehend, and it drives them crazy trying to figure it out. Your ability to thrive, even in the most challenging situations, leaves them in awe. They can't explain how you do it. Every setback you face only seems to fuel your growth, making you more resilient, more independent, and more powerful. What they don't see is the strength behind your success, your deep spiritual connection to something greater than yourself. This unseen force is what enables you to rise above life's difficulties with such ease and grace. They think you've got some secret formula, but the truth is far simpler. You trust in a higher power, and that faith is your foundation. What really fascinates them is the effortless way you navigate life. While others struggle, you glide through challenges, never losing your cool. They can't understand why you're not weighed down by the same worries that plague them. You've become a force of nature, a person who doesn't just survive, but thrives, not because of circumstance, but because you've tapped into a deeper well of spiritual energy and confidence. It's like you've stepped into a different dimension where the rules of the world no longer apply. And that's why they're obsessed with you. As much as they try, they'll never quite figure you out. They're too caught up in their own limited perspective to see that your success isn't about trying to play by the rules of the world. It's about tapping into a higher calling, one that guides you to greatness in ways they can only dream of. And that's what makes you stand out, not just in their eyes, but in the world at large. Your life is a reflection of what it looks like when someone truly embraces their spiritual power. You don't need external validation or approval. You don't need to conform to what society says you should be. You found a path that is uniquely yours, and in doing so, you've unlocked a level of freedom and success that is impossible for others to replicate. That's what keeps them guessing, what keeps them hooked. Because deep down, they wish they could break free from their own limitations and tap into the same spiritual power that you possess. But only a few ever will, and that's what makes you so extraordinary. As you can see, the world is watching and wondering what makes you so special. You've been chosen, and your light is undeniable. They can't help but be drawn to you, curious about what you did to reach this level of greatness. Remember, your journey is unique, and your power is real. If this message resonates with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom for more powerful insights. Hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos that are designed to elevate your life. Stay blessed and keep shining. Chosen ones, they are scared to death. You defeated a group and gang of witches with one-man army. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. This timeless quote from Edmund Burke reminds us of the power of one individual standing firm against darkness. Welcome, chosen ones, to Spiritual Wisdom, where we celebrate the resilience and unshakable strength that defines your journey. Today, we delve into a story that will leave you inspired by a tale of courage, where a one-man army dismantled a coven's illusions and left them trembling. Have you ever wondered what makes your light so powerful that it silences even the loudest shadows? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your voice matters in this community of spiritual warriors. Let's rise together. 1. The power of singular purpose versus collective chaos. A chosen one operates with a level of clarity and purpose that sets them apart from the rest of the world. Where others rely on the strength of numbers, convoluted strategies, and backup plans, you move with the precision of a sharpened blade, unburdened by doubt and rooted in a spiritual understanding of your mission. This isn't arrogance, it's the power of spiritual awakening, the realization that true strength lies not in quantity, but in quality of intent. This clarity was the very reason you dismantled them. The witches thrived on chaos, using division, distraction, and fear as their weapons, believing that their rituals and collective strength would overwhelm any opposition. But against you, their tactics were powerless. Their unity was fragile, built on dependency rather than discipline, and their numbers were just noise when confronted with your focused intent. They relied on theatrics, their chanting, their symbols, their attempts to project fear, but you saw through it all. Your spiritual awakening allowed you to see their chaos for what it truly was, disorganized and weak at its core. They expected intimidation to break you, but their power unraveled under the weight of your unwavering purpose. When they attacked as a group, they believed their strength would lie in their numbers. Yet they didn't realize that their very reliance on each other made them vulnerable. Dependency turned their unity into a liability, and when you struck, their collective effort crumbled. It wasn't brute strength that defeated them, but the sharpness of your clarity, the steadiness of your resolve, and your ability to remain unshaken in the face of their orchestrated confusion. You didn't need an army to face them. Your focus was the weapon they could not defend against. While they scrambled, disoriented and lost without the support of their rituals, you stood firm, a singular force of precision and strength. In modern life, this lesson rings true. Whether you're navigating the challenges of relationships, workplaces, or societal pressures, the power of singular purpose remains undefeated. Distractions and doubts are the tools of those who thrive on division, but clarity and focus cut through chaos like a blade. In every aspect of life, understanding your spiritual purpose allows you to rise above the noise, to see through manipulation, and to stand victorious not by overwhelming strength, but by unshakable intent. This victory was never about proving them wrong. It was about embodying the truth that one person, aligned with their higher purpose, is stronger than any collective lacking genuine connection and discipline. The spiritual awakening you've experienced has not only elevated your strength, but also revealed the fragility of those who operate without clarity. And as you walk forward, remember this: your stillness in the storm, your focus amid chaos, and your spiritual alignment are the tools that make you unstoppable. The world may rally against you, but their numbers will always fall before the clarity of one chosen one standing in their purpose. And if you feel inspired by this message, type "I trust the process" as a way to affirm your strength, patience, and commitment to growth. Let's grow together. 2. You became the weapon they didn't see coming. When facing those who thrive on manipulation and deception, such as witches and others who exploit fear and vulnerability, it's easy for them to weave their power through the cracks of self-doubt, insecurity, and buried fears. Their strength doesn't lie in spells or potions, but in their ability to make people question their worth, succumb to their frailties, and ultimately believe they are powerless. But when they turned their attention to you, they encountered something they weren't prepared for, a spirit that had already faced its shadows and emerged stronger. You had dismantled your fears, faced your insecurities head-on, and refused to carry the weight of unresolved vulnerabilities. Your resilience wasn't built on external tools, charms, or allies. It was forged within, transforming you into the weapon they never saw coming. The transformation that disarmed them wasn't loud or external. It was quiet, internal, and unshakable. They couldn't find a foothold in your mind or spirit because you had already fortified yourself against their tactics. Each attempt to unravel you or exploit a weakness only reflected their failure. It was like trying to fight a mirror. Everything they sent your way bounced back, exposing their own vulnerabilities instead. Their usual methods of dismantling alliances, breaking confidence, exploiting tools or symbols fell flat. You weren't reliant on anything external. You were the source of your own strength, the embodiment of power drawn from spiritual growth and the profound understanding of who you are. Picture a modern-day scenario. A lone entrepreneur building their dream amidst naysayers who mock their vision and competitors who attempt sabotage. The entrepreneur's power lies not in their tools or resources, but in their unwavering belief in their purpose. Every failure becomes a lesson, every challenge an opportunity, and every setback a setup for a comeback. Similarly, when you stood against the witch's manipulations, they saw not a vulnerable individual, but an impenetrable force. You weren't fighting with strategies they could unravel. You were standing as the embodiment of unshakable resolve, a one-person army whose strength was rooted in self-awareness and spiritual growth. This is why they feared you. Every step you took dismantled their illusions of control. They weren't just losing a battle. They were watching their entire approach to power crumble. Their fear wasn't just of you, but of what you represented. An unyielding spirit that proved power doesn't come from manipulation or fear, but from a deep connection to your inner truth. What they didn't understand was that their greatest weapon, manipulation, held no power over someone who refused to be manipulated. In trying to break you, they broke themselves. If this message resonates with you, don't forget to like this video and share it with others who might need these great values. Let's continue this conversation and go deeper into what these values really mean. 3. Their rituals couldn't touch your energy field. Imagine this. A group of people, accustomed to bending others to their will, gathered together with one purpose: to take you down. They relied on rituals, incantations, and dark energy, believing their power to manipulate and destroy was unmatched. But little did they know, they were dealing with someone who operated on an entirely different frequency. Their low vibration intentions, steeped in fear and control, bounced off you as if striking an impenetrable shield. Why? Because your spiritual wisdom and energy field were untouchable, vibrating so high that their darkness couldn't even scratch its surface. As Albert Einstein once said, energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be changed from one form to another. And your energy, unyielding and pure, transformed their attacks into nothingness. Have you ever wondered what makes someone truly powerful? It isn't brute strength or aggression. True power comes from an inner light, a spiritual wisdom that aligns you with a higher purpose and connects you to divine energy. That's the strength you carry, and it's the reason why their rituals failed. Each incantation they chanted, each dark spell they cast, disintegrated the moment it met the unwavering force of your energy. They underestimated the power of someone who doesn't just survive attacks, but neutralizes them without even lifting a finger. How could their manipulation work when you refuse to be controlled by fear? Think about this for a moment. What happens when someone tries to impose their will on a person who is unshaken by external forces? They become powerless. The witches and their dark arts thrived on manipulating people's weaknesses, preying on insecurity and fear. But when they tried to target you, they encountered something entirely unfamiliar. A presence so grounded, so filled with spiritual wisdom, that their efforts crumbled. You didn't fight back with anger or retaliation. Instead, you stood firm, radiating a frequency so pure and strong that their darkness had no place to go. As Gandhi said, strength does not come from physical capacity. It comes from an indomitable will. Every attempt they made to break you only highlighted their own limitations. Their rituals didn't fail because they lacked skill or power. They failed because their energy couldn't match yours. This wasn't a battle of physical strength, it was a clash of vibrations. They operated in fear and control, while you embodied love, faith, and resilience. Their dark energy tried to pull you down, but you lifted the entire encounter to a higher plane, where their negativity dissolved into nothingness. And this, my friend, is the essence of true power. So let me ask you, are you aware of the immense strength you carry within you? Do you understand that your energy, when aligned with spiritual wisdom, is an unstoppable force? If you've ever doubted your ability to rise above life's challenges, let this moment remind you that you are far stronger than anything or anyone that seeks to pull you down. Their fear of you wasn't because of what you did, but because of who you are. You are the embodiment of light. And as the Bible says in John 1:5, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. That is your truth, and it's time you embrace it fully. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. What is your perspective on the importance of this value? Share your insights and let's continue this conversation. Four, You weaponized their own tools against them. The witches reveled in their arrogance, cloaking themselves in a false sense of invincibility, as if their dark arts and carefully crafted illusions of power rendered them untouchable. For years, their strength lay not in their unity or abilities, but in the fear they instilled in others. To them, the very idea that one person could rise against their legacy was laughable, an absurdity dismissed with scorn. But that dismissal was their undoing. When you stepped into their world unshaken and resolute, they underestimated you, thinking their reputation alone would crush you before the battle even began. Yet, it was precisely this overconfidence that you turned into your most powerful weapon. You didn't meet them on their terms or play by their rules. Instead, you allowed their own arrogance to unravel their carefully constructed fortress. Each time they attempted to wield their mystique against you, their reliance on shallow theatrics and symbolic intimidation only highlighted their insecurity. The rituals they thought would paralyze you with fear revealed how fragile their strength truly was. Their unity, once seen as a shield, became their weakness, as they were exposed as individuals too reliant on collective bravado. You saw through their illusions and met them not with fear, but with spiritual clarity and a steadfast heart. Your resilience became a mirror reflecting their flaws, a spiritual awakening that dismantled their foundation. The irony of their downfall was poetic. What they believed made them invincible, their reputation, dark arts and numbers, was precisely what left them vulnerable. Their tools, designed to intimidate and control, became the very instruments of their defeat. You didn't merely overpower them, you turned their arrogance against them, showing that true power comes not from illusions, but from spiritual strength and inner resolve. In the end, their miscalculation was more than a mistake. It was the fatal flaw that brought their empire of fear crashing down. They fell, not because of any grand force you wielded, but because they could not see beyond their own pride and reliance on shallow power. This story carries an important message for modern life. Never underestimate the power of resilience and clarity in the face of overwhelming odds. In a world filled with people who thrive on manipulation, control, and fear, your greatest strength is a clear mind and a steadfast spirit. Whether you are facing challenges in relationships, work, or personal growth, remember that true strength lies in authenticity and self-awareness. Don't let the ostentation of others scare you. Often their ostentation hides a deeper insecurity. Your spiritual awakening is not about using strength to meet strength, but about rising above illusion and standing firm in your truth. If you agree with this, comment below, "I stand firm in myself." When you weaponize their arrogance and use their overconfidence against them, you are demonstrating a power that no number or antics can overcome. 5. You weren't just fighting them, you fought their legacy. When you stood against that group of witches, you weren't merely engaging in a single skirmish, you were confronting an entire legacy built on generations of dark power and secrecy. These individuals weren't lone operators. They were the carriers of a twisted inheritance, a lineage that thrived on fear and manipulation. Every spell they cast, every ritual they performed, was deeply rooted in the teachings of those who came before them, fortified by years, if not centuries, of unchecked dominance. They weren't just fighting to protect their present power. They were defending the weight of history they believed made them untouchable. For them, their legacy was a shield, an illusion of invincibility that they thought could crush anyone who dared to challenge them. But you were no ordinary challenger. You didn't approach them with fear or play by their rules. Instead, you brought something they could never anticipate, the power of your unwavering spirit. In many ways, their strength wasn't just in their rituals or dark practices, but in the fear they instilled in others, the belief that their history made them invincible. They were accustomed to crushing anyone who dared to rise against them, using intimidation and the heavy weight of their ancestry as weapons. To them, you weren't merely an adversary. You were an anomaly, a force of disruption that threatened to dismantle everything they held sacred. They underestimated you, thinking you would crumble like so many before you. But here's what they failed to understand. The strength of spirituality and spiritual growth is not bound by fear, rituals, or the weight of dark legacies. It thrives on truth, light, and the resilience of a soul aligned with divine purpose. Your victory wasn't just about defeating them, it was about tearing down the very foundation they had built their power on. Their legacy, which they believed was eternal, proved to be nothing more than a house of cards. The moment you stood firm, refusing to bow to the shadows of their history, you shattered the illusion they had relied on for so long. Their power wasn't eternal. It was fragile, dependent on secrecy and fear. And when you broke free from their intimidation, you didn't just win in the present. You sent a ripple through time, unraveling the dark web their ancestors had painstakingly woven. Think about how this applies to life today. There are systems, traditions, and even toxic patterns handed down through generations, whether in families, workplaces, or society. These legacies often seem unshakable, designed to make you feel powerless or trapped. But when you stand your ground and choose to break free from their grip, you're not just changing your life, you're dismantling a cycle that might have persisted for years. Have you ever wondered how much of your own strength lies untapped because you've been conditioned to believe in the power of these legacies? What if the fear that holds you back is the very thing keeping those systems alive? The lesson here is profound. Spirituality and spiritual growth are about breaking free from illusions and aligning yourself with truth and light. You don't need to rely on the same tools or tactics as those who seek to control you. Your strength lies in your authenticity, your unyielding will, and your connection to a higher purpose. When you choose to stand firm, you don't just defeat your enemies, you redefine what's possible. And in doing so, you inspire others to rise, to challenge the darkness, and to embrace the transformative power of light. Never underestimate the impact of your courage. It has the power to change not just the present, but the entire course of history. Share your story, or simply type, "I am growing," if you're committed to using every moment to improve yourself. Let's keep this conversation going. I can't wait to hear your insights. 6. The fear you struck came from the unknown. Fear isn't just born from strength, it's nurtured by the mysteries of the unknown. The witches you faced didn't tremble because you wielded a conventional power they could comprehend. No, their fear stemmed from something far more unsettling. You were beyond their grasp, a puzzle that refused to fit their carefully constructed narrative. These individuals had spent lifetimes mastering rituals, symbols, and dark arts, each designed to control, manipulate, and predict the behavior of others. But when it came to you, they found themselves paralyzed by the unfamiliar. Their calculated spells, intricate plans, and oppressive tactics crumbled against your calm, resolute presence, a presence they neither understood nor could anticipate. Think about it. How do you react when faced with someone who defies every rule you thought you understood? That's exactly what they faced in you. They expected fear, hesitation, maybe even a panicked retreat, something they could latch onto and manipulate. That's their modus operandi. As Sun Tzu said in The Art of War, all warfare is based on deception. But when their deceptions met your unwavering spiritual wisdom, they faltered. You didn't give them the satisfaction of fear or confusion. You didn't react in predictable ways, and that terrified them more than any physical force ever could. The truth is, their power thrived on control. They fed on the chaos and emotional vulnerability of others. Yet when they tested you, their spells seemed powerless. their illusions nothing more than smoke dissipating in the wind. Their attempts to intimidate fell flat, and their confidence began to waver. Every failed scheme chipped away at the illusion of their invincibility. You stood as a reminder that their greatest weapon, the ability to manipulate others, was ineffective against someone who had mastered the art of inner peace and faith. You were calm in the storm, and as Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "Nothing can bring you peace but yourself." What do you think scared them the most? Was it their realization that their power had limits? Or was it the way you held a mirror to their fear, showing them that they were only as strong as the illusions they created? They had built their lives around being the ones who pulled the strings, yet now they were the ones stumbling in the dark, overwhelmed by the unpredictable. You didn't just resist their power, you unraveled it, exposing its fragility for all to see. This wasn't just a victory of strength. It was a triumph of spiritual wisdom over manipulation and fear. You became the unknown force. They couldn't account for a reminder that true power lies not in controlling others, but in mastering yourself. So I ask you, how often do we give in to fear because we underestimate our own ability to rise above it? And what would happen if, like you, we embraced the power of being unpredictable, unwavering, and unshakable? In the end, you weren't just their defeat. You were the embodiment of a force they couldn't understand or overcome. That, my friend, is the kind of victory that echoes through eternity. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. What is your perspective on the importance of this value? Share your insights, and let's continue this conversation. 7. They realized they couldn't corrupt you. The witches, known for their cunning and mastery of corruption, believed they could twist anyone to their will. They were experts at sowing doubt, offering tantalizing illusions of power, and turning even the most resolute individuals into pawns in their dark games. For most people, their tactics were irresistible, a slow descent into compromise disguised as survival or advancement. But when they encountered you, they faced a force they had never reckoned with, an unshakable moral compass and a profound spiritual strength. Unlike others, you were not swayed by whispers of forbidden knowledge or the tempting lure of control. They underestimated the clarity of your convictions and the foundation of your spiritual awakening, which stood as an unbreakable fortress against their manipulation. Every subtle scheme they wove the promises of glory, the allure of forbidden power crumbled against the integrity you carried. It wasn't that you were oblivious to the temptations they presented. It was that you saw through them. You understood that true power lies not in bending others to your will, but in staying rooted in your purpose and values. Their offers of control and influence held no appeal to you because you already knew your worth. You didn't need their hollow promises. Your spiritual awakening had shown you that genuine power comes from within, not from external validation or domination. Their desperation grew as their usual tactics failed to penetrate your armor of self-awareness and resilience. And in that struggle, they revealed their own weakness. Their so-called power was not born of strength, but of their ability to manipulate and corrupt. When they could no longer sway you, their facade crumbled, exposing how fragile they truly were. Without their webs of deceit and control, they were nothing but shadows trying to masquerade as giants. Your resistance didn't just protect you, it turned the tables on them, shining a light on the hollow nature of their authority. This is where modern life intersects with your story as a chosen one. Every day, you encounter forces, people, systems, or even doubts within yourself that seek to corrupt your integrity and lead you astray. They may not look like witches from ancient tales, but their methods are the same. They plant seeds of doubt, appeal to your ego, and offer shortcuts that promise success at the cost of your values. But as your journey of spiritual awakening deepens, you realize the power of standing firm in your truth. By refusing to play their games, you not only protect yourself, but also reveal the emptiness of their manipulations. The lesson here is profound. When you refuse to compromise, when you anchor yourself in your spiritual purpose, and when you see through the illusions of power and control, you wield a strength that cannot be defeated. This strength is not about physical might, but about spiritual resilience and a clear understanding of who you are. It is this strength that leaves those who seek to control you scared to death, for they know they cannot corrupt what is incorruptible. And in that moment, you don't just win, you expose the truth, liberating yourself and inspiring others to do the same. If this message resonates with you, don't forget to like this video and share it with others. 8. Exposing the weakness of their collective power. When they saw you standing alone, they assumed it would be an easy victory. They relied on their coven, the intricate web of rituals, and the illusion of unity, believing their collective power made them untouchable. Together, they chanted, cast spells, and projected an aura of invincibility. Yet, beneath that surface lay the truth. They were only as strong as their reliance on each other, and you exposed that weakness. Their unity wasn't built on genuine strength. It was a crutch, masking their fear and inability to stand individually. When you confronted them without backup, without allies, and without fear, you tore through the veil of their illusion. They depended on numbers to sustain their courage, but your unwavering presence revealed a sobering truth. Their power worked only in unison because they lacked the resilience to face challenges on their own. Your defiance shook them to their core. It wasn't just your ability to withstand their rituals. It was the spiritual power you carried that dismantled their foundation. Each of them was forced to confront their fear of isolation, a fear they had projected onto others for years. They thrived by feeding off the vulnerabilities of individuals who stood alone. Yet now they were the ones feeling that crushing loneliness. Their rituals, once their source of confidence, became meaningless as their collective strength unraveled under the weight of your spiritual growth and courage. You dismantled not just their group, but their entire belief system, showing them that true power doesn't come from numbers, but from the strength of standing firm in your purpose. Think about it. How often do we see this dynamic in everyday life? In workplaces, communities, or even friendships, there are often groups that appear powerful because they operate as a unit. Perhaps you've faced a team of co-workers who tried to undermine your efforts, or a clique that used collective intimidation. Yet, when you hold your ground, refusing to play their game or feed their fear, the cracks in their unity start to show. They crumble because their strength was never real. It was borrowed, dependent on the group to mask individual insecurity. So let me ask you this. What is your foundation? Is your strength rooted in external support? Or is it grounded in your own spiritual growth and inner power? When you build your resilience on a firm spiritual foundation, you become unstoppable, even when facing the most intimidating challenges. You don't need a group to validate your worth or amplify your courage. You carry that within yourself. And when others see that kind of unshakable strength, it forces them to reflect on their own weaknesses. And if you feel inspired by this message, type, "I trust the process," as a way to affirm your strength, patience, and commitment to growth. Let's grow together. 9. The psychological war was won before the battle began. Imagine this. Before the first move was made, the battle you faced was already won. The group and gang of witches had crafted their entire strategy around fear, projecting it, amplifying it, and using it as their ultimate weapon. Fear, sharper than any spell they could conjure, was their means of control, thriving on the belief that their illusions were real. But here's the thing. Fear only has power when the mind accepts it as truth. That's where they failed with you. They underestimated your unshakable resolve, your ability to see through the veil of their deceptions. And that, my friend, was their ultimate undoing. When they came at you, they brought everything they had. Whispers designed to plant seeds of doubt, shadows meant to evoke terror, and illusions crafted to make you question your reality. Yet instead of caving in, you stood there unmoved, grounded not in arrogance, but in certainty. You refused to let their tricks take root in your mind. By doing so, you stripped their most potent weapon, the weapon they relied on to dominate others of its power. As the great Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That strength was your shield, your one-man army, against their entire arsenal. Think about it. How many times have you seen fear crumble people, reduce them to shadows of themselves? That's what these witches had banked on. They thrived on hesitation, exploiting the vulnerabilities and uncertainties of others. But when their usual tactics didn't work on you, their confidence began to unravel. They weren't just afraid of your immunity to their fear, they were terrified of what it exposed about themselves. Their entire system of control, built on manipulating the weak and uncertain, was rendered useless against someone who simply refused to be afraid. Every moment you stood firm was a silent declaration of spiritual wisdom, a wisdom that transcends fear, that sees through manipulation, and that remains anchored in truth. You dismantled their strategy without ever needing to raise your voice or your hand. The battle wasn't about spells or physical strength. It was about willpower, and yours was untouchable. As the great Sun Tzu teaches in The Art of War, the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. That's exactly what you did. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. What is your perspective on the importance of this value? Share your insights and let's continue this conversation. 10. Your victory forced them to confront their own mortality. When you confronted them, the witches didn't see just an opponent. They saw a force of truth so powerful it broke through their carefully crafted illusions. For years, they had deluded themselves into believing their rituals and forbidden knowledge could shield them from time and consequence. Their spells weren't just tools of power, they were symbols of permanence, a way to convince themselves that they had risen above the laws of mortality. But when you defeated them, you didn't simply overpower their magic. You stripped away the veil of their invincibility and exposed a harsh spiritual truth. No amount of dark energy could erase the fundamental reality of mortality. Your triumph forced them to face something they had avoided all their lives. This was not a battle of swords or strength, but of deeper spiritual resonance. The fall of their defenses wasn't just a physical collapse. It was a complete dismantling of the beliefs that had kept them in their self-made prisons of arrogance and denial. For the first time, they felt the weight of their humanity, a spiritual reckoning they could not escape. Every chant they had whispered into the void, every ritual they performed under the cover of darkness, now felt hollow. The very tools they used to distance themselves from their human vulnerabilities became meaningless in the face of your courage, your spiritual strength, and your unshakable resolve to expose the truth. In that moment of defeat, they were left with no more illusions to cling to. They realized that their attempts to play gods were not only futile, but dangerous, and their so-called immortality was nothing more than an elaborate lie. What terrified them the most wasn't just the loss of power, but the realization that the eternal legacy they had fought to preserve was as fragile as a candle in the wind. They had spent their lives building an identity rooted in false superiority, only to see it crumble before their eyes. Your victory serves as a lesson not only to them, but to anyone tempted to believe that power and control can shield them from the inevitable truths of life. In modern life, we see this same dynamic play out in those who use wealth, status, or influence to create a facade of invincibility. But just as in your battle, the truth always has a way of shining through. True strength isn't found in avoiding mortality or denying the challenges of life. It's found in embracing them, learning from them, and using them to grow spiritually. By facing these truths head-on, you embody the kind of resilience and courage that others can only aspire to. So remember, your triumph wasn't just about defeating an enemy. It was a spiritual awakening for all involved. By standing firm in your truth, you didn't just challenge their power. You dismantled the very foundation of their lies and gave them no choice but to confront the one thing they had feared the most: themselves. This is the power of a chosen one, a force that brings clarity, transformation, and undeniable truth to a world that often hides from it. And that is why your energy and spiritual presence leave them trembling, because it holds a mirror to everything they try to escape. If this message resonates with you, don't forget to like this video and share it with others who might need these great values. Let's continue this conversation and go deeper into what these values really mean. 11. You didn't defeat them for glory. You did it because it was necessary. The witches thrived on chaos, their power fed by fear, greed, and manipulation. They had always relied on the same playbook, preying on the desires or insecurities of their opponents to gain control. But when they faced you, they realized they had met their match, and not because you were seeking glory or recognition. No, what set you apart and what terrified them was that you were fighting from a place of necessity, driven by a purpose that went beyond yourself. You weren't in this battle for a trophy or the applause of the crowd. You weren't chasing validation or proving your strength. Your actions came from a spiritual depth they couldn't grasp, a calling to stop the darkness they represented because it had no place in a world where light and growth were meant to flourish. They tried every trick in the book, throwing distractions, false promises, and threats your way. They wanted to appeal to your ego, to draw you into their web of deceit. But your detachment, your singular focus on the mission at hand, made you untouchable. There was no fear they could exploit, no desire they could dangle in front of you to sway your path. You were anchored in something far greater, a sense of responsibility that came from a profound connection to your purpose and spirituality. Their manipulation crumbled in the face of your clarity because they didn't understand a force like yours, one rooted not in selfish ambition, but in a determination to protect, to heal, and to restore balance. Think about it. How often do we see people crumble under pressure when their motivations are shallow, when they're driven by things like fame, power, or approval? But when someone operates from a place of inner strength and spiritual growth, they become unshakable. That's what embodied a calm, unyielding presence that couldn't be moved by fear or temptation. The witches realized too late that their tactics were useless because you weren't operating on their level. They were playing a game while you were fulfilling a higher calling. This story reflects a truth we all face in modern life. Whether it's dealing with toxic relationships, workplace politics, or personal challenges, the way we approach battles makes all the difference. If we're driven by ego or a need to prove something, we become vulnerable to manipulation. But when we act out of necessity, guided by our core values and a higher purpose, we become unstoppable. Have you ever faced a situation where staying grounded in your values helped you overcome something others thought was impossible? How did focusing on what truly mattered give you the strength to persevere? The lesson here is clear. Spirituality and spiritual growth don't just make us better people. They make us resilient in the face of challenges that would otherwise overwhelm us. When your purpose is bigger than yourself, you become a force that no one can deter. So, the next time you're faced with opposition, remember this. You don't have to fight for applause or recognition. Fight for what's right, for what's necessary. That's how you truly defeat darkness and inspire light. If this message speaks to you, take it a step further and share it with someone who might need this reminder. Together, we can build connections rooted in honesty and respect. 12. You revealed their true nature to themselves. When you stood up against the group of witches, you did more than just resist their attempts to dominate. You revealed their true nature to themselves and others. These individuals, who had spent their lives crafting an illusion of invincibility, relied on fear and secrecy to maintain control. They built their image on deception, weaving lies to appear untouchable, even convincing themselves that their power was absolute. Yet, when faced with your courage and resilience, the foundation of their strength began to crumble. You didn't need to retaliate with force or use underhanded tactics. Your spiritual wisdom and refusal to submit were enough to dismantle their facade. As you stood your ground, you peeled away the masks they had carefully constructed, forcing them to confront the reality of their emptiness. Your presence, infused with truth and unshakable conviction, became a mirror reflecting the lies they had lived by, and the power they once flaunted was shown to be hollow. Have you ever considered what gives true strength its power? Is it fear, illusion, or manipulation? Or is it authenticity, courage, and a connection to divine truth? By standing firm, you answered that question not just for yourself, but for everyone witnessing your journey. As the great Mahatma Gandhi once said, "Truth alone will endure. All the rest will be swept away before the tide of time." Your truth, rooted in spiritual wisdom, swept away their illusions like a mighty tide. They tried every trick in the book, fear, manipulation, and intimidation, to bend you to their will. But you didn't waver, and in doing so, you became a living testament to the power of light over darkness. How often do we give power to the illusions others create? How many times do we let fear dictate our actions because we believe the lies others tell about their strength? Your story teaches us that true power doesn't lie in controlling others, but in mastering oneself. With every attempt they made to suppress you, you revealed the weakness at their core. Their so-called power was nothing more than a carefully constructed illusion, shattered the moment you chose not to believe in it. As Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." You denied them that consent, and in doing so, you exposed the truth for all to see. Now take a moment to reflect. Where in your life are you allowing illusions to hold you back? Are there fears, manipulations, or untruths you've accepted as reality? What would happen if you, like the chosen one in this story, decided to stand firm in your spiritual wisdom and confront those illusions head-on? You might find that the power you feared was never real to begin with, and that your inner strength is far greater than you imagined. Remember, it's not always about fighting harder. Sometimes it's about standing taller and letting the truth speak for itself. That is the essence of spiritual wisdom. The understanding that light, truth, and courage will always prevail, no matter how dark the opposition may seem. So, stand firm, choose one, because your light is more powerful than you realize, and the world needs it now more than ever. In the face of overwhelming darkness, your victory stands as a beacon of light and truth, proving that courage and integrity can dismantle even the strongest collective of deceit. By standing firm, you've shown that true power lies not in numbers or fear, but in the unshakable resolve of an individual aligned with purpose. Let this story inspire you to face your own battles with the same unwavering spirit. How can you apply this lesson to your life today? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom for more transformative insights. Together, we'll continue to uncover the extraordinary. See you in the next video.